and tires. And so many of you are going to hear this as the week goes on, but those of you that really are logged in, I guess there's usually about 30-something of you, and we want to try to find a way to grow that. And I could take your, I could use your help if be, but we've got to find a way. How do we hold me accountable with a process or something to be able to hold drivers accountable on checking brakes and tires? I mean, the numbers are just alarming, not alarming in the fact that we're bad, because we're not horrible. We're just not the best. And when we look at our numbers and really break them down, it is staggering where all of our, it's not this big wide problem. We can focus it in on two areas, and that's brakes and tires. Just so you know, brakes and tire violations, we have 149. Brakes and tires equals 76 of that, 51%. So over half of our violations are in two categories, right? Now, them categories break out to different variants of tire issues, but they're all tires. And I included in the tires wheels and rims, right? Because you're checking the tire. Them should go right with it. So 51%. Now, when I broke it down to out of service violations, right? We've already shared brakes. We've had 12 out of service, right? And our total out of service violations is 37. So that was a 32%. So basically a third of our out of service are brakes. Now, they're not big in our total violations, but they are huge in our out of service violations. So when you look at it, tires, we've had 19 tire violations out of the 149, 13%. By itself, not a bad number, maybe some would say, but it's tires. This shouldn't happen. And when you add the tires to the brakes of 38, now them two numbers create over 50% of our total violations. Here's where it gets worse, folks. 19 tire violations, 16 are out of service. That's 84%. 84% of all of our tire violations actually come out to be out of service violations. So now you put tire violations with brakes. We have 12 out of service. We have 16. That's 28 out of service violations just in those two categories, and that's 37 total. Only 9 other out of service violations come from all the other categories combined versus the 2. So what does that mean? 76% of our out of service violations are in 2 categories. So this is not a huge problem in the scope of it's a bunch of violations contributing to this. This is an area that we can focus on 2 areas, and we have to, right? So 76% of all out of service violations are brake and tire related. That's 3/4 of our out of service. 84% of just tires are out of service. And then 51% of all of our violations, period, come from these 2 categories. So as you can see, this is the area we have got to be accountable for. That is my job to be accountable for that. That's nobody else's. And quite frankly, I don't know what to do. I know things to do, don't get me wrong, but that puts all the onus back on the driver. And here, the driver has a lot to do with this. There's no doubt about it. But how do I hold them accountable? It's not just drivers should know and then we punish them, right? There has to be something where we attempt to coach and educate. And we're doing that with the numbers, but there's more. It may be that we require, and I'm throwing things out there and I want your input. It may be where we set up Luma training on brakes and tire inspections, get some new material and data numbers, and require a driver on a monthly basis to take that training and see if that doesn't help our numbers. Folks, this is an easy thing to do. All you have to do if you're not sure, if you've checked everything and you're sure, but let's say the only thing you don't know is brakes out of adjustment, then stop in the shop and have them do it. Get with maintenance. Say, hey, this trailer hasn't been inspected for, its annual inspection is due in 2 months. There's a good chance something's gone wrong with the brakes. So let's get it in and just have them looked at real quick. Get with maintenance and let's see. But I totally forgot where else I was going with that because it's just mind-boggling, these numbers. Oh, I know where. You know, some of you on this call, actually all of you, because you care enough to be on it, you've learned some great habits, but you had to learn them. You didn't just jump in a truck and had these habits. So now one of the theories out there is that you learned it at another company. And I'm not so sure that's true. So I want to hear that from you all. Where did you learn your good pre-trip inspection? Because I'm going to guess and bet that you learned it from somebody you trusted. I know if Lonnie's on the call, I know many, many times it's his grandpa, right? He talks a lot about what his granddad showed him to be a truck driver. And so maybe that's Lonnie's big influence, but not necessarily a company. So, but we do want, if you've got a company that you work for that had a great program on pre-trips or whatever, we want to copy that and help us be the best. Otherwise we're just spinning our wheels. If we just keep talking, nothing changes. Some of the accountability items for me was, I noticed in some emails that processes weren't being followed that we have in place to help. And I'm like, why? So went back into the departments and visited with them about the process. Also, hey, just wanted to think, if many of you may or may not have paid attention to, on the driver tech, we are no longer going to be able to edit any driveline. This is critical that you guys slow the process down, right? And make sure you know what the heck you're doing on your logs. This is an industry-wide thing, folks, because I'm looking at new ELD devices, and none of them allow us to edit the driveline either. So again, we no longer can move it to personal conveyance. You either log as you go or you get a violation and you've got to slow down. There can't be, I didn't know or I forgot. There's too many times that drivers tell me I forgot. And, I'm just sitting there thinking, you're in an industry that can't be accepted that you forgot. Is there a lot to remember? I don't know. There's a lot. If I listed them all out, yes. But there's a bunch of them that just should be so second nature that you don't have to remember to listen them out. You just know that you got to do it, right? So just as a reminder, managers are no longer able to edit automatically recorded drive, and the driving statuses will be grayed out when the status has been selected for editing. Managers to change a remark, all right, to provide details for the driving statuses that are created erroneously. Enforcement is trained to watch for and take into account these remarks when auditing a driver's log. So again, we're going to be able to note things, which we've been trying, again, for all of you to get better at noting. Remember what I told you. Part of the DOT was they want more notes from you guys. And I think a lot of drivers said, yeah, and just blew me off. But now you're going to see it. You're already starting to see it come to fruition here a little bit just by the editing process. It's going to force you to put notes in there. Because you can't just drive illegally and say, okay, right? And again, you've got to remember what data does. Data is a great tool to learn. But when you don't use it to learn, it forces companies to get rid of drivers because they're not looking at the data. Drivers are, the companies are doing this and that and trying to get the drivers to understand. And they'll go through extra training. And then the driver continues to do it. So you have to realize while technology is great, it's awesome, it helps us be better, it can only make us better if you take on the responsibility and accountability to learn it, right? You've got to learn the hours of service. You should use me as a resource to ask questions absolutely every single time. So I don't want you to take this wrong. But I'm sitting there thinking that if I'm a driver, because I've applied this in every position I've done, I don't want to go and have to ask Rick if this is okay to do. I want to know that this is the right thing to do. And that comes from me and learning and trying to learn all the advantages and the ins and outs of what the pros and cons are so that, you know what, if I do something and Rick or Brian disagree with, I have all my ducks in a row to explain why it was what it was, and usually it's a great reason. So, that I did the right thing for the company. Are you doing the right thing for the company? If you're doing the right thing for the company, I guarantee you at some point you're doing the right thing for yourself. You're doing the right thing for safety because the company is all about safety. You know, and again, that's what I had to meet with some departments because the processes weren't being followed, and that's just not acceptable. So that's me holding them accountable for their part in this. So with that, do we have any questions? We want to open it up a little bit to anybody if you got any comments, anything that where you learned good pre-trips, how to do brake inspections, things of that nature. I know Lonnie, every time, Lonnie's mentioned before, every time he stops a truck, he does a quick walk around listening for some of the air leaks, looking at his tires, make sure something hasn't changed, right? And I know we're too lazy to do that in a lot of cases. Who we got, producer?
Yeah, we got two callers here. So first we got Vicente Gonzalez, and then we got Ricky Butterfield. So what do you got for us, Vicente?
Vicente.
Okay, you guys hear me there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I noticed that on trailers, equipment has been an ongoing problem that is always going to be there. From your point of view, I understand that you're under the impression that the driver is mechanically inclined. When exactly, I can tell you that half of the drivers, they're not. Some of them, they're just, they just overlooked. Some of them, they don't care. Some of them, they don't even bother to look at it. They just look at the trailer. Oh, it's got tires. I'll hook on them, and that's it. I'll go with my load. They don't even check the paperwork. And we got to go from the roots, okay? The way I was trained back then, they teach you what the paperwork looks like your PM, your trailer registration, and whatever you need to have in there. Where does it is located, or what to do if it's missing. Now on the brakes, you gotta go way more on the roots, like what are the components, the basic components of your brake system. If you don't know, if you don't identify it, you're not going to be able to tell these brakes are new, these brakes are fair, these brakes are checked. There's so many trailers that I had got into trouble with my dispatcher. And that's okay. That's okay. As long as I've been doing what I was trained, and I'm going to leave it for good conditions for the next driver, that's okay. I'm willing to take the chute. Sometimes I have lost my load because of that, because there's no other trailers available. I gotta go hunting somewhere else, and that's it. My day is ruined. That's okay. I'm not complaining. The thing is, if you have to crawl underneath to check the brakes, you have to. If you really have to, especially with this blitz that's coming, yeah, I recommend the drivers, you better crawl underneath. If you see something that it doesn't look right, most likely it's not. If you see the pad sticking out of the drum, you got a big problem. If the brakes look thin, but what is thin? Okay, you gotta show them what a brake shoe looks like. This is a medium-sized brake shoe, and this shoe, you look at it like this is gone. Don't even hook to it. Raise the flag. Say something. Put a red tag. Go yell at Ben or DJ. Tell your dispatcher, hey, I can't hold this trailer like that. I mean, what's wrong with it? It's got no brakes. Well, how do you know? That's the first thing they're going to ask you. How do you know? Well, they're too thin. Oh, okay. How thin? They're just too thin. It's not, I mean, it's under the inspections, under DOT specifications. Okay. Adjustments. Okay. We don't know about adjustments. All I can tell you, on the brake chambers, there's this little round thing. Yeah, well, the cover is off. Don't go stick your finger in there, see if you can adjust it. No, never do that. You got to learn how the brakes work in order for you to inspect them. If you gotta lubricate something, or if it's out of adjustment. And that thing about the brakes that they're self-adjustment, no, I don't believe in that. No, I just take it to a tire shop and say, hey, can you check my brakes? Yeah, they'll check them in 5 minutes. They'll adjust them.
Yep.
So how much do I owe you? Sometimes they let you go. I mean, there's no charge because we've been real good customers with them. But I mean, if we gotta imply more about the brakes, just the same as the tires, okay? What's the minimum? How do you check them? You gotta tell them exactly. This is what a tire looks like, okay? This is the thread. This is unacceptable. You got flat spots. Okay, how do I condemn? Oh, the rest of the tire looks okay, but it's got a big flat spot. I'll let it go like that. No. If you put a credit card on top of it, or you put your hand and you can see the flat spot, that tire is gone.
Yep.
Even if the thread that looks brand new, that's it. All they have to do is put a gauge. There you go. You're out of service. On road, you're out of service. So things like that, you know. And we were worse at the beginning because we had the equipment. It was not how do you say? We didn't take care of it the way we are right now. We have done a lot of improvements since I've been hired. At the beginning was a lot of headaches, but that's okay. It's part of the job. But I know my days go smoother as I crawl under these trailers. The trailers, they look better. Sometimes they look, oh, this one is going to need attention. I make a note. Can I use the trailer? Yes. I make my best judgment. Yeah. I can still use it, but I make Ben or maintenance know, hey, we can check this trailer over here. We might need brakes. We may not. I'll leave it up to you. So as long as you get involved, it helps you, and it helps especially you, Bob, to put you in a better position instead of being helpless in case that they do an audit. Now, you mentioned something about the editing. Now, are we supposed to write more details on our logs?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Basically, you've got to tell everybody that's going to look at that log what's going on. You can't just hit a status and not put a note in there. Like too many drivers, I've seen, I talked to a driver the other day where they were being loaded or unloaded at a customer and they just hit load. And it's like, that's not a proper log because they don't want to know what the customer's doing. They want to know what you're doing. And so when you say load, you are telling everybody that you are loading that trailer. So I'm really I hate the canned messages in there, your options. Sorry. Cramp.
Okay. But let me, if I can,
yes.
But the way I look at it from here, okay, I see some of these ones are kind of, a very broad idea.
Yes.
Let's suppose I'm going to go do a delivery right now, okay? Now, if I go and I write to the customer, you want me to, instead of putting that icon that says, check in with the customer, you want me to use that one and you want me to add something else?
No, there's one or two. For me, what I tell them in orientation, there's three.
Delivering load?
No, there's three you have to use, or two that you have to use. You have to use beginning a shift pre-trip.
Okay.
Because on your first one of the day, because otherwise it doesn't start the clock, and that's what the device is looking for.
Okay.
And then
okay.
Customer check-in when you arrive is absolutely good. And then the other button. Just hit, it amazes me when I tell a driver, just hit other and type in what you're doing. What do you mean? What other button? And I'm like, it's right there. It's on every off-duty and on-duty option and sleeper berth. If you select those options, it gives you a bunch of them, but it'll say, that always gives you the word other, where you can hit it and type in what's going on.
Okay. Like on this case, if I'm going to do the delivery, do I still use that icon, check in with the customer, or you want me to add like for instance, I'm at the right at the shipper or the customer or consignee to deliver the load.
You can do the customer check-in on that. I'm talking about things like, the best example is you drop a truck off in the shop, right? And drivers will put off-duty brake. Well, no, that may be true, but we want to know that the truck's in the shop, because that tells everybody that if that truck moves, you're not in possession of it. So when you put brake and the truck moves, it looks like you're falsifying your logs or you're illegally driving.
Exactly. You're going to be in violation. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're, let's say,
okay, I'm going to give you an example.
You ran out of hours, right, because of traffic, right? So you're like, man, now I can't get to the truck stop. Well, pull over on a ramp and type in, due to heavy, bad accident traffic, going to switch to PC, right, and drive the rest of the way, okay? Because now you're explaining what it is. You're not just putting PC personal move. You're putting, hey, we know exactly what happened. We can see that the driver sat on the drive line for an hour and a half and moved 20 miles, right? So we're going to be able to see that, and then you're going to have a note in there that says, stuck in accident traffic, PC into the nearest safe place due to out of hours. So tell us exactly what's going on. So that's two of the best examples I could give. Vicente?
You should be able to.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good example. Okay. Oh, let's suppose another one. Okay, if you're out of hours, or just make all right. Let's suppose that I'm gonna put the truck on for a major repair that's gonna take me 1 or 2 days. So I go in there, go to others, type truck in the shop. Driver is no longer in possession of the truck, or just
fine.
Put truck in the truck?
Yeah, just as long as we know exactly what's going on.
Okay, all right, sounds fair.
Another great one is, here's another great.
There's another question there besides from that one. Okay, let's suppose that I finished typing that. Okay, do I need to log off on that?
Well, you're already logging a status, Vicente.
Like logging off, like if everything is off, do I need to turn the tablet off?
Yes, anytime you are no longer in possession of the equipment and somebody else has them keys, you must be logged completely out of the system.
Okay.
Otherwise,
right,
otherwise it will kick you. Otherwise it will kick you to the drive line. And now we're not going to be able to edit it.
Exactly. Well, even though if it's a log off, it's still going to detect the movement of the truck. Huh? That's
Correct. Correct. When you get back in possession, it's going to say, this truck moved. You have unassigned driving. Do you wish to accept it? If you do your job, that answer should always be no. Because every time you're behind the wheel driving the truck, you should be logging it.
Okay, makes sense.
So when you put it in the shop and you note truck in shop, driver not in possession, then you get back in the truck and they moved it a mile or two to test drive it, or moved it out of the bay, right? It's gonna register, and you're gonna say, no, I didn't put them miles on there. So that's what you say. If you didn't put the miles on, you say no. And if you do your job, you should never put miles on without being logged in. Another great example is you got in a rental truck, okay, and the device hooks up. Note that in the log. Say, now in Penske Rental 10183 / truck 1009, your truck number afterwards. So now, if anybody looks at that log, they're going to see an odometer change, and you've explained it. You've explained, well, why is there a jump of 300,000 miles? Well, it's because here it is. I'm in a Penske rental unit now. So it's just, hey, what are you doing and what's going on? That's really it. Did that answer everything, buddy?
Okay, in other words, just log it and go. Yeah, I understand.
That's it. Use that other button a little bit more than trying to take the shortcut. Who else we got?
Yeah, we got Jesse Swain here. What do you got for us, sir?
Hey, Jesse.
Jesse Swain, what do you got for us? You should be able to unmute yourself, sir.
All right. No, Jesse? Okay. Do we have anybody else today? All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining again. And again, we want to hear your best practice. Where did you learn to be a good pre-tripper? How, what did the company put in place? Don't just send, well, I learned it at this company ABC. What did they do that made you learn it so well, right? What was their way of holding accountability for themselves and you? And again, just a quick, I want to close out on a reminder. Upcoming change to the hours, effective September 1st, in the driver tech units, no driveline will be able to be edited. We cannot convert it to PC. We can't convert PC to anything else. You're just in violation and you're going to be required to take a break. And we're going to have to note why. And so you really got to get to the point where you're not doing this, okay? I mean, it really is that simple. I've never understood how drivers say they forget. If you're forgetting, then you're either not focusing on what you're doing, which is a bad thing, because if you're forgetting to do how to log and to check what mode you should be in, then what else are you forgetting on the road? You're distracted by something, and you've got to slow it down. If it takes you extra, you're either in a hurry to get it done, which is wrong, right? There's no good reason to be able to say, I forgot. I mean, not on the simple stuff, folks. I mean, you shouldn't forget to look at your brakes. You shouldn't forget to look at your tires. You shouldn't forget to look that I'm in PC mode or I'm in regular driving mode. You shouldn't forget to log off duty at night when you're done with your shift. I mean, if you accept that of yourself, then you are setting the bar way too low. Again, and I challenge you, don't set that bar low. Anybody can jump over a bar that's 3 inches off the ground, right? Put that bar up there 4 feet. And I put 4 feet because myself, that would be hard to do right now. Maybe in my younger days, it's like a high jump bar. Set that goal, attainable, but one that, hey, you can attain and it's a good level to be at, not at, okay, hey, I can attain 6 inches. Well, but I can walk over that. I don't have to put any energy or effort. You should have to put some kind of effort into your job. You want to minimize it, of course, but you can work smart, right? And so that's what we want. Hey, everybody, we're going to end it there, and thank you again for being on the show. We will talk with everybody this afternoon in the Afternoon Safety Show.